For decades, Diddy's parties were the pinnacle of Hollywood, an invite-only world of elite status and wealth. But as the trials and accusations mount, the narrative has completely shifted. We're no longer talking about the champagne and the stars. We're talking about what happens after the main party ends. While the headlines have focused on the courtroom, the most horrifying details have remained ignored. Until now, one man signed to Diddy and present at the inner circle parties has decided to finally speak out, and the dark rituals he describes will finally confirm what truly happens behind closed doors at a Diddy party.
Use the word sacrifice because that's what it felt like. You know what I'm saying? Being in the dark for that long and then being waking up out of my sleep to someone screaming, it felt wrong and I felt violated. And I didn't ask for that. You know, I didn't ask to be hazed. What was done to me felt like, you know, honestly, it felt like, you know, something trying to take my soul or something.
Once upon a time, Q was a promising young artist who had the entire world in front of him after meeting Diddy. He likely thought he had finally made it, that all of his dreams were about to come true. But he quickly noticed that being around a man like Diddy came at a price he wasn't willing to pay. In a recent interview, Q shared the story that puts us directly in the perspective of a man going through the industry's dark hazing rituals. He reveals exactly what happened to him after being invited to Diddy's Hampton home, a night where he would unknowingly pay the hidden price of fame. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the beginning. In the late 2000s, being signed to Bad Boy Records wasn't just a career move, it was like hitting the lottery. Q was the breakout star of Making the Band 4, handpicked by Diddy himself to lead the group Day 26. At the time, Diddy was the one man who can make any dream a reality, but it seems Diddy took full advantage of that power. As we've seen with almost every artist who walked through those bad boy doors, their dreams were often used as leverage to exploit them. The relationship was built on a foundation of absolute power and total dependency. These artists lived in his houses, traveled in his cars, and followed his rules. You had to surrender yourself fully to Diddy, allowing him to groom and mold you. During one traumatic night, Q learned exactly how that process works. He was invited to the Hamptons estate thinking he was simply attending a famous Diddy party, but what he encountered was far from a good time. At just 21 years old, he was still new to the dark side of the industry. He saw the invitation as an opportunity to gain Diddy's approval, a way to reach the next level of fame. But in typical Hollywood fashion, that success came with a cost. What some would call an industry test, others see as hazing. But Q, he describes it as a demonic ritual. According to Q, when he arrived at the mansion, he was ready to have a good time. Exactly what you expect from a young artist at the peak of his career. That's when his girlfriend at the time, Dawn Richard, allegedly offered him a pill. She claimed it was ecstasy sent directly from Diddy to get him in the party mood. Q accepted the gift, expecting it to boost his experience. But he quickly realized something was wrong. This wasn't a high. It was a blackout. When he finally came to, 7 hours had passed. He woke up in a dark basement bedroom, drenched in sweat and completely disoriented. To Q, this was far beyond a prank or any industry hazing he has heard of. He described it as a demonic ritual, a moment where he felt he was being sacrificed and that Diddy was trying to take his soul.
We're in the studio and, you know, Puff's like, we're about to go to the Hamptons, and it was weird because we never really like ate the night with them, you know. So we get there, walk through the house, get to the backyard. I remember Dawn calling me over to her near the pool area, and she's like, oh, it's just 2 red pills. She was like, oh, this is ecstasy. And she was like, one's for you and one for me, and it's from Puff. So I'm like excited, but I was insisted that it was something that it really turned out to be something else. So I thought I was taking something, and I trusted my girl because at the time I take the pill. I took mine. I didn't see her take hers. I take mine. About 20 minutes later, I know we were like chilling. I'm in shorts now because we're in a jacuzzi. So we're in the jacuzzi. I get really, really, really hot. It was Puff in the jacuzzi, Cassie and Dawn and me. We were all just in the pool area. And I get really, really hot. I remember I started to panic all of a sudden and get paranoid. A pill turned out to be not ecstasy. It turned out to be a horse tranquilizer pill. I'm like panicking in the mode. Next thing you know, I know I was in shorts because I jumped in a pool. When I jumped in the pool, I don't remember nothing after that. All I know I remember is I woke up in the basement downstairs in the dark. So when I was down there, I don't know who brought me down there and who put on pants on me because I was in shorts. As you see, I wake up in the video like screaming or whatever out of my sleep. And you can say it's a joke, you could say it's a prank, you could say whatever the hell you want to say it is, like looking at the video, but I didn't take it like that because I was in the dark for like 7 hours. that video just shows them going downstairs checking on me. I got paranoid and really high and blanked out 7 hours earlier during the daytime. I felt set up because it just didn't feel right. And then I go and I say sacrificial. When I talk about sacrifice and all that stuff, you know, to me, it felt like I was being harmed. And I use the word sacrifice because that's what it felt like. You know what I'm saying? Being in the dark for that long and then being waking up out of my sleep to someone screaming. And then it looks like, you know, I looked at the video, it looks like his hand went across my my private area and stuff. It just looked very, all this looked weird to me, man. And it just felt wrong and I felt violated. And I didn't ask for that. You know, I didn't ask to be hazed. You know, I was the youngest one there. I was in that man's residence. And I feel like it was just all set up and fucked up, man. What it was done to me felt like, you know, honestly, it felt like, you know, something trying to take my soul or something. I don't know. That's what it felt like. It just felt that ritual and demonic.
This is the hidden price of fame that most artists are too afraid to mention because of the oath of secrecy. If Q had embraced this ritual, it likely would have opened the doors to even higher levels of success. But because he refused to compromise, he was disposed of. While this might sound unbelievable to some, we have to remember who we're talking about. This is the same man who allegedly blew up Kid Cudi's car just because he was seeing Cassie. The same man accused of orchestrating days-long freak-off sessions that many have described as ritualistic and predatory. When it comes to Diddy, the line between the music industry and the occult starts to blur. In fact, Q isn't the only one from the bad boy inner circle to describe these strange occurrences. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, has gone on record describing a ritual he witnessed with his own eyes. Deal claims that while Diddy was fighting his 1999 nightclub shooting case, he ritually sacrificed a bird in Central Park to gain the occult power he needed to win.
Me and Puff stops in Central Park and we walk towards the boathouse. As we going towards the boathouse, I look in the distance and it's this man in all black. So when Puff gets directly to the dude, he gets down on his knees. When he gets down on his knees, this man takes something and it seemed like it had smoke in it and he started doing it around Puff. And then he went back and forth and then he went up and down with it, sideways with it, then back around him. And then he put it down and then he put his hand on Puff's head and I guess he started, saying something. I don't even really know what he said, but I couldn't tell what he said. You understand what I'm saying? I see Puff reach into this case. And when he reached into this case, he came out and you could see something white in his hand. I didn't know it was a bird. I didn't know what it was at first, but he threw it up in the air. And when he threw it in the air, the came straight back down like it was a brick and said, "Bow" on the concrete. And I was like, oh, that was a dove. That was a bird. Puff just got up, looked at the dude, and just started walking towards me. And I was like, oh, and he's getting closer, and he's getting closer. As he's getting closer to me, in my mind, in my cynical mind, I'm just like this. I'm thinking about Jason. I'm thinking about Damien and all that shit like that. And that nigga he just walked past me. He didn't even say nothing like, "Come on, Gene, let's go." And he just walked past me, and I just started walking with him. And I just said to myself, damn, that nigga's Damien. And we got to the car and he didn't say nothing the whole ride.
What's even more interesting is that Diddy was dating Jennifer Lopez at the time, who herself was later accused by her ex-husband of performing similar strange rituals. When you connect the dots, a very dark picture begins to emerge. A lot of what Diddy is accused of wasn't just random twisted behavior, it was a calculated part of industry grooming. Just look at the case of Lil Rod, a producer who worked closely with Diddy on his latest project. He describes a scenario chillingly similar to Q's, being drugged and waking up in a bed next to Diddy with no memory of how he got there. Lil Rod explicitly described his experience as being groomed. He even claimed that Diddy told him this behavior was normal in the music industry, and that if he wanted to make it big, he had to be comfortable with it.
Some days those girls next to me, woke up some days, he was in the bed. I would wake up feeling sore, still not understanding exactly what's, transpired. Starting to understand that I was drugged pretty often.
When you listen to Lil Rod and Q's story side by side, a pattern of erotic hazing begins to emerge. Diddy is accused of sedating these men to perform acts they would never consent to while sober. While some may view this through a lens of sexuality, in the world of the occult, This is a classic dominance ritual. By stripping these artists of their pride and their manhood, he is exerting absolute dominance. He is initiating them into a side of the industry where boundaries don't exist, and where your success is directly tied to your willingness to stay silent about the dark side. It's not just about a party, it's about a total surrender of the self. The most tragic part of Q's testimony isn't just the night in the Hamptons, it's the lasting effect this had on his mental and his spiritual well-being. Q describes a trauma so deep that he began hearing voices telling him he was marked and that Diddy was coming to take his life.
The effect that the pill did to me, it makes me forget some things sometimes. Because the pill turned out to be not ecstasy, it turned out to be a horse tranquilizer pill. And now I have to go to mental health every month and get a shot in my arm and shit like I told you earlier, because I dealt with trauma of someone trying to hurt me when I got home. I started hearing voices in my head from the effect of the horse tranquilizer pill. I started hearing voices in my head, and the voices were telling me that, you know, not to sound extreme, but that's what the voices said, that Puff was going to kill me or they were going to kill me. You know, I thought everybody that were down there that laughed in that video were trying to hurt me. Put me in a child's mentality, if I can say that. Yeah, it's crazy. It really broke me down to where I was hospitalized numerous of times. I would run out my house and like with screwdrivers and stuff, man, and like stab up the trees, bro. And I would be so scared because I would think someone was coming to harm me.
To some, this sounds like a mental breakdown. But in the dark world of the music industry, this psychological fracturing is a known outcome. If you've seen my recent Orlando Brown video, then you should already know. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to check it out after this one. Q himself said it felt like someone tried to take his soul. When he describes being put in a child's mentality and needing monthly injections just to stay grounded, he is describing a man fighting to survive the aftershocks of the industry's dark side. This is the hidden price of fame rarely spoken about. It's not just about the money or the contracts. It's about stripping a human being of their identity so they can be molded into whatever the industry needs them to be. Q refused to be molded, and the cost was his peace of mind. Whether you believe in the occult or simply in predatory power dynamics, the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. From Q's 7 hours in the dark to Gene Deal's account of rituals in the park, a dark reality is finally being brought into the light. Q's story is a reminder that in Hollywood, the biggest stars often have to do things they deeply regret to make it big. Q barely walked away with his soul, but the scars he carries are a warning to anyone else looking to hit the lottery of fame. Well, that's it for this video, but before you go, I just want to let my Patreon members know that I've just released a new exclusive breakdown. In this one, I go deeper into the recent ICE situation. So if you're one of my members, make sure to check that out right after this. If you're not a member, what are you waiting for? Join the truth movement and help me spread the truth. For $3 a month, not only will you be further supporting the channel, but you would also get access to over 50 exclusive Patreon videos that are not available here on YouTube. If you would like to join, you can find the link in the description or in the comment section. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.